Hey guys, my name is Louie. This is the third episode of where we take one food from every country, and in this video we're doing ramen. Although the idea of ramen sort of came from China with the noodles, the Japanese definitely adapted it into what you know it for what it is today. So let's get started. Okay, so for this particular ramen, we're doing a Tonkotsu Ramen because it's my favorite kind of ramen. Basically, it's a ramen that has a pork broth that is boiled for 12 to 24 hours. So the first ingredient you're gonna need, and it's kind of weird and also a bit difficult to find, is pig trotters. And if you don't know the fancy name for it, it's pig feet. So that might gross you out, but trust me, it's gonna give you the best result. Also, if you don't want to use pig trotters, you can use the neck bones from the pig. And yeah. Okay, but this is a very large recipe with a lot of components, so I'm gonna need some help. Carlos, come here.
Thank you.
Now, if you're one person, you are able to do this by yourself. It's just easier with the second person. So you're gonna want to start with a very large stock pot, the biggest you have. And this is 20 quarts. I would say anywhere from 10 to 25 quarts would be good. Okay, and now this is 6 pounds of pig trotters. This is for a large batch. If you want to do it for, let's say, 2 or 3 people, I would just go with 3 or 4 pounds. But this is for 5 people, so we're gonna do 6. So now you just want to put your pig trotters into your stock pot. Okay, now that your trotters are in there, you just want to cover it up with water about 6 inches above the bones.
Now you want to boil this for about 10 minutes to clean the bones.
Yeah, and during those 10 minutes, you're gonna want a fine mesh strainer or any kind of strainer, but it needs to be really fine. So to skim off all of that dirty foam type thing that will come to the top. Okay, after 10 minutes from when a lot of scum rises to the top, you want to go strain this over a colander and then rinse it off with just tap water.
Okay guys, it's like 5:40 in the morning, and of course you can let this broth go overnight if you want, but there's one step that we prefer doing and liking to stay active with it. So the first step you're gonna do after your pig trotters are cleaned, so you're just gonna put them back in the pot. Okay, once your pig trotters are in the pot, you want to cover above the bones by 2 to 3 inches. Okay, so now that you have topped your bones with about 2 to 4 inches of water, you want to add in 1 bunch of green onions cut into 2-inch segments, 1 large quartered onion. You can leave the skin on unless it's like really dirty. You can also leave the root on, but if it's really dirty, take it off too. And then 2 shallots, just cut in half. Again, same thing with the onion. If the skin is really dirty, you can take it off. And if the root is really dirty, you can take it off too. And then about like a 3-inch knob of ginger, just cut into slices. Okay, now that everything's in there, you just want to bring it to a boil.
So for us, after 2.5 hours, some of the water evaporated. If some of the water evaporates for you, be sure to add about 1 quart of water.
Okay, after about 12 hours, just around there, and you have your tare made, you want to strain your broth. So in order to do that, you just want a colander with another pot under it, maybe smaller or the same size. So just turn off the heat, take off the lid, and then hopefully we'll be able to lift this over to the colander.
This is optional, but if you want it super smooth and super just like not chunky at all, you can grab a fine mesh strip and just go in the top and try to grab everything.
Okay guys, so now we're gonna make a very important part to all of our ramen, and that is the dashi. So the first step in your dashi is you want to have 4 cups of warm water, like around probably 120 degrees, and then you want to put in 4 2-inch pieces of kombu. If you don't know what that is, it's like a specialty seaweed. You can find it you should be able to find it at an Asian market for sure, and then some grocery stores will have it if they're big enough. And now that the kombu is in there, you just want to let that soak for about 30 minutes.
So after 30 minutes of soaking your kombu, you want to add your bonito flakes. Then you just want to keep it over a low heat.
Okay, now that your bonito flake and kombu have been like on a steamy heat, you don't want to simmer or boil it. That'll just make it all slimy. So after about 15 minutes on a steamy heat, you want to strain it into a pot over a fine mesh strainer. And then if you want to get your dashi like super nice and clear, you can strain it through a paper towel and a fine mesh strainer. Then you want to cover it and put it in the fridge.
Now for your marinated soft-boiled eggs, you want to have a pot with boiling water and an ice bath. You also want to add some vinegar because they're making it easier to peel. So you just want to add a little bit to the water. Now you want to add your eggs as gentle as possible because if one breaks, it kind of ruins it.
And then once your eggs are in, you want to set a timer for 6 minutes exactly. Okay, now when you go to a ramen shop, your eggs will most of the time be marinated. So in order to do that, you want to use equal parts mirin, soy sauce, and optionally an equal part of your dashi that we made earlier in the video. Highly recommended. So you just want to put 1 cup of each. So 1 cup of mirin. And if you don't know what mirin is, it's a Japanese cooking one. 1 cup of soy sauce or tamari, and then 1 cup of your dashi. Want to mix that around a little bit, and you have your marinade.
Now after 6 minutes, you want to turn off the heat. Be very, very careful when you take them off. And the reason for the ice bath is 1, to cool it down faster, and 2, because it stops the cooking process, making it stay at a soft boiled egg. If you don't do the ice bath, it'll probably do some carryover cooking, and it'll probably turn into something a little bit less than hard boiled egg. And of course, it makes it easier to peel.
Okay, now hopefully we'll be lucky with the peeling and we'll be left with whole eggs. That's why we made 1 extra, just in case we mess up. Okay, so now that you have all of your eggs peeled, you want to pour your marinade that we literally just made into the bowl that you're planning on marinating your eggs with. So you just want to put your peeled soft-boiled eggs in. And remember, they're still pretty fragile, so do it gently. And then once they're all in there, you can marinate I would say minimum 30 minutes or an hour, up to 24 hours if you want. Okay, now as you notice, your eggs might be floating, and that's not a good way to marinate something. So we're gonna create surface tension, so keeping the eggs down by using just some simple plastic wrap. So in order to do that, you wanna put some plastic wrap and then press it against the surface of the eggs, like this, if you can see that. So this will just keep the eggs under the marinade and make sure that you get a more even marinade. Okay, and now that you have your surface tension, you can just place these in the fridge until you're ready to use them. Okay, now we're gonna get started on that chashu pork that you normally should see on a bowl of ramen. It's like that circular pork that you see. So what you're gonna need for that is a pork belly. I'll go over how you wanna work with it. And then 1 bunch of green onions cut into about like 2-inch segments. Then 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. I like to smash it, you don't have to. And then a 2-inch knob of ginger. And I just peeled that with a spoon and sliced it. And then you're gonna need some sake, some mirin, and some soy sauce or tamari. So normally I would recommend going with the 5-pound pork belly, which will be shaped like this, but like so this big, and then you're just able to very easily roll it. But if we're using like a strip of pork belly that's like 2 pounds or around that, you first want to cut it in half down the middle so that we're able to get nice rolls. And then you want to roll 1 half like so, and then just put butcher twine around it. If you don't know, butcher twine is just twine that you use in the kitchen, and you can easily find it online.
Now that you got your pork rolled up and wrapped in butcher's twine, you want to make your, cooking bracing liquid. So you want to add 1/3 of a cup of water, half a cup of soy sauce. You want to add 3/4 cup of mirin. Okay, now 1 cup of sake. Do not worry, the alcohol will cook out, so it's not going to be alcoholic. Now you want to add your green onions or spring onions, your ginger, and of course your garlic. Now you want to bring this to a simmer, and you want to add your pork chashu your pork when it's simmering, and you want to simmer about 15 minutes, and you can either flip it around with tongs or baste your pork.
Okay, after about 15 minutes of just like constantly kind of twisting it to get all of that braise nice and on there, optionally you can also baste it with a spoon like so. You're gonna place it in an oven preheated to 300 degrees and then checking it every 30 minutes, maybe flipping it around. And you wanna make sure that right now you're using an oven safe pan, because we wanna just keep everything in the same pan because it's a lot easier that way. Now you just want to place it in the oven.
Before you take it out of the oven, you want to check if it's tender. If it's tender enough or tender for your liking, you want to take it out of the oven, let it cool to room temperature, put it in a container with all the liquid and all the reduction and everything, cover it and put it in the fridge. The reason you put it in the fridge is because when it's cooled down, you can cut really nice thin slices. And to warm it up again and get it crispy, maybe you can sear it on a cast iron.
Okay, so now we're gonna make the flavorful base of our broth. So you have the broth, but as you might have noticed, there's no salt in it. So you might be wondering what's gonna bring that flavor. Well, what's gonna bring that flavor is something called a tare. It's what you put under the broth, and it makes it very nice and flavorful. So you first want to start with 3/4 cup of just water, then half a cup of mirin, half a cup of soy sauce, then 1 cup of your dashi that we made earlier, And then to bring it all together, we're gonna use the braising liquid from the pork chashu. So you just wanna remove your pork chashu and then pour whatever's left in there. Try and keep all of the chunks out. Okay, and now you can just put your pork chashu back in the container. Okay, so while your pot of water that you're gonna boil your homemade ramen noodles, homemade.
Yeah, homemade, yeah.
You wanna have everything set up. So your chashu,
Fish cakes.
optionally fish cakes,
Menma.
your eggs, whatever toppings you wanna put on there. Whatever you can find, really.
Yeah.
So you have our broth, your boiling water, and your tare.
Now that your water's boiling, you just want to add your homemade ramen noodles.
And then just boil them according to package directions, or until it just has the right texture. Okay, once your noodles are fully cooked, you just want to strain them.
For the most exciting part, the assembly.
First, you want to take your tare. First, start with less, because you can always add more when you taste it. Because if it's too salty, you can't take it out. And then you want to add in your beautiful 12-hour broth
Remember to try it.
to taste if it needs more tare.
Alright, now that you have your tare and broth mixture, you want to add some of your delicious homemade noodles. Then you want to add a little bit of your chashu, about 2 slices for good measure. Some enoki mushrooms right in the center, right here. Some delicious fish cakes. Some green onions, a big handful, because green onions are really good on ramen. Some of your delicious menma. And finally, grab one of your eggs and cut it in half. Now some of your eggs, of course. And, I almost forgot, 1 piece of nori, or seaweed. And this is the most perfect ramen bowl.